Okay, so today we're going to be talking about verbs. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to watch the Schoolhouse Rock video, Verbs. It goes over very basics of verbs and a catchy song. So pause this video, find that video on YouTube, and then come back to this video. Okay, so a verb. Every predicate contains a verb, the word that tells when action is taking place. The main verb is underlined in each predicate below. The screeching back flew suddenly out of the cage. ACT scores can be improved through study and practice. An action verb describes an action. That is, an action verb tells what the subject is doing. For example, the dog ran. The student studies every night. The actress sang upon the stage. Linking verbs connect the subject to its complement. That is, a linking verb links the subject to a word that describes the subject. Most common linking verbs are am, are, is, was, and were. Verbs may be action or linking depending on the context of the sentence. So, for example, in these two sentences, the verb grew is the verb in both sentences. However, the first sentence, the vine grew up the building, the verb grew is an action verb. The vine is doing an action. It is growing up the building. In the second example, he grew tired of the extra work. Grew is a linking verb. It links the subject to a word that describes the subject. The tense of a verb tells what time, past, present, or future, an action occurs. The following explanations contain some special names for verbs, such as present participle, third person singular, and past participle, and we'll talk about what each of those things mean. Use the present tense of a verb to refer to something that is occurring now, that is generally true, or that always occurs. The present tense is the basic form of the verb. So, for example, is, are, run, sing, stand, etc. The third person singular is formed by adding s to the first person form. Some third person singular have special spellings. The present participle also expresses present action. To form the present participle, add ing to the present tense. Some present participle have special spellings. The present participle is always preceded by a helper verb, such as are, am, be, and is. So look at the following examples. Stand is the first and second person in plural form. Stands is the third person singular. And standing is a present participle. Use the past tense of a verb to refer to something that has occurred in the past. To form the past tense of regular verbs, add d, t, or ed. The past tenses of irregular verbs have special forms. You can use the past participle to express past action. For regular verbs, the past participle is the past tense form preceded by helper verbs, such as had, has, and have. A common error is to use the past participle form of an irregular verb without a helping verb. So, for example, we spoken to the dean is incorrect. You need to use we have spoken to the dean or we had spoken to the dean. Okay, so look at these following examples. Face is the present tense, faced is the past tense, and has, have, or have faced is the past participle. These are all regular verbs. The following are past tense irregular verbs. So do becomes did in the past tense and is had, has, or have done in the past participle. An extensive list of the principal parts of irregular verbs is on the following slide. This is not a complete list of all irregular verbs, but it is the most common irregular verbs. Remember, the past participle of a verb must be preceded by one of the helping verbs, had, has, or have. So take some time as we go through them and pause them if necessary to look through and see what the past tense and past participle are of the irregular verbs. Use the future tense to refer to something that will occur in the future. To form the future tense, use the word shall or will before the present tense form of the verb. So, for example, you will go to college. Verbs in a sentence should reflect time sequence. If events represented by the verbs occurred at the same time, all verbs should have the same tense. For example, the rain splattered on the windshield as I drove to the store. Some tense shifts are acceptable. Mixing sentences is acceptable when the verbs present events that happen at different times. So, for example, Jean will march on the parade tomorrow, so she is practicing now. The subject of a sentence is the person or thing that performs the action. The verb is the action performed. The subject and verb of a sentence must agree in number. Singular subjects take singular verbs. Plural subjects take plural verbs. So, for example, Lisa wants to go to the library after school. Lisa and Terry want to go to the library after school. Okay, so now we're going to look at your assignment for this section. On the first part of the assignment, you will see you're going to underline the main verb and write A for action or L for linking. So don't forget, underline the main verb and then either A for action or L for linking. Then the next part is going to be an ACT style section where you're going to look at the short passage and then choose which multiple choice answer is correct. Okay, then on the next section, you're going to correct any tense errors. So make sure that if it is necessary that they are all in the same tense if they are occurring at the same time. If the sentence is correct, then mark it C. Then you have another ACT style section. Then again, you have another tense shift section and another ACT style section. Then you have a subject-verb agreement errors section, so you're going to look and correct any subject-verb agreements, and if it's correct, mark C.